You're here with.
ADOS! I am so excited for this episode.
This will be a very fun one.
Yes. Today we are talking about 1928. If 1927 is one of the best years in film history, 1929 is the worst, 1928 is the weird, awkward middle child. There's a lot of good happening and a lot of terrible. Are you ready?
all
That's
right,
fair.
all right, people. I'm back. Apologies. I turned my TV off because that'd be rude to you, bad one.
Fair. So I guess before we get into anything, we do have some little channel announcements. Just some future plans, keeping some interesting ideas in the pipeline. When it becomes relevant, not currently relevant, advertising is something we want to get into because watching ads are weirdly entertaining if they're from the past and less so annoying if, than they are now.
Yes.
Obviously, because you can't buy products from most of these companies. So it's interesting to see, especially what people claim with what we know now. It's going to be fascinating.
Yes.
A thing that we can talk about, which is not like super far in the future, is we want to start talking about magazines. And I don't know how long it'll be till I'm comfortable talking about it, but I eventually want to talk about some literature, just again because it's an absolute labyrinth to try and conquer.
Yes. I'm actually glad you mentioned ads and magazines here because ads magazines go they're like white on rice basically. Um, and most modern and magazines up like at least around the 30s and above had ads, tons of ads in fact. Um,
Too damn many, if I were allowed to give my opinion on that.
so I'm the one currently doing the research on this one because we'll actually be making a video eventually. Hopefully, sometime or after Christmas is we'll have a whole video that just details all the magazine, or rather the essential magazine stuff up until where we are currently with the movies, games, and other rather fucking fun stuff. It won't be all in like comprehensive. There's just too much, and that's how it is sometimes. But we'll have that actually slides us into another thing is where we'll sometimes we'll go back and we'll start covering things that we either overlooked, by accident, or we chose not to do. That's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah. Yes, especially when we start getting suggestions from the audience, we will, because I'm sure there are things that I've missed, and I'm sure there's things that we're going to continue to miss. There's simply a lot to cover in this series, which is frankly absurdly ambitious, but here we are, and we're getting through it.
Yep.
I'm very excited for what the channel holds, and I hope all 11 people who watch our stuff regularly, we really do appreciate you. I know we say it at the end of every episode, but we really do. And we hope that you guys enjoy what we do. So enough being sappy, I suppose. Shall we get into the films?
Before we do that, we have to, of course, plug your stuff, dude. We gotta plug your stuff.
All right. Oh no, I must get my letterbox. Do you have anything to plug? Not
Uh, I hold off. So I'm gonna hold off until I actually have stuff, and until we actually get to that point in our media journey, I will eventually start plugging my tabletop stuff, but not yet.
That's fair. Same. Uh, there you go. There's the thing because Twitch is done.
There is Oz's letterbox, and I will, of course, plug the YouTube channel because you guys probably. So if you're watching from Twitch, you might not be on YouTube at all, depending on how you are, weirdo. There you go.
I just noticed as of a couple days ago I broke 250 films I've seen this year.
This will be wow. We've done it for 8 weeks. It doesn't feel like
Yes,
it.
I know it flies by when we're talking about this stuff, but let's talk about the first film on the list. I really don't want to, but
uh,
it's there. Let's talk about In Old Arizona.
uh,
This is one of those really early, what do they call them? All talking pictures?
yeah,
So, last episode we talked about the first feature length sound film, and I think I might have mentioned it, but The Jazz Singer is only partially sound. Most of the film is actually silent. only the singing sections. Yes, we did mention that actually. Now that I'm remembering. This, however, is distinguished because the whole film is sound, all of it. There is not a single title card outside of the title, probably, in the entire film. So there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of sound being utilized mostly in a gimmicky way. But let's get into the main thing that everyone knows about this movie: the acting. Did you find the acting especially notable? Side there.
Some shit.
Oh my god! You could. This is possibly the first so bad it's good movie I've ever seen. It from this chronologically speaking, anyways. This film is insane. There's so many quotes from this film that I could go on for hours about. My favorite being, "What? I just shook hands with him." Because that is pretty much the delivery of most of the lines in this movie. I believe there's a line where the main cowboy dude, who I'm forgetting the name of, talks to a no, he's talking to a barber about how the barber prefers fat women, and it's like a 10-minute dialogue scene. This film is insane.
So
Uh,
something I have to
mhm.
say because it's very important because this film is also one of those films that fucking lies to you. They lie. So
Oh,
not a single shot, not a single scene, not a single anything was ever at any point filmed in Arizona. It was done in Utah, California.
okay, wait. So as we all know, Hollywood's in California, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it faster to get to Arizona than it from Hollywood than it is Utah?
I'm pretty sure.
Why would you go all the way to Utah to shoot a film that doesn't take place in Utah?
I guess because they're like, okay, the environments are pretty similar, and nobody really care or notice. Well, I noticed.
Yeah, no, like I've lived in Arizona part of my life, and no, Arizona does not look like that. That is very clearly like a plateau.
Something very
Um,
important to also mention is this is the first ever all talking Western feature. Just to put it out there. it
huh.
this movie also has a pretty sad detail about it. As the actor, or rather, excuse me, this person was also a director, as I should mention that too. Raul Walsh, who was cast as a Cisco kid. Um, a sad thing is that when he was driving back to Los Angeles from Utah, a jackrabbit jumped through the windshield of his car. Both the rabbit and the broken glass would hit him in the face. Um, this is actually a bit of an irony thing, is that safety glass would first be used cars a year later after this. um,
Oh,
the damage to Walsh's right eye was not stated, but it would replace him as the leading role, and the entire script would be rewritten and reshot to have a different director, while Walsh would recover. Unfortunately, he would have to wear a eye patch, which would be more like his claim to fame. He'd be known as a legendary director after this, which is kind of weird to me, but whatever.
yeah. If you look at the credits, it has two directors listed, and as far as I'm aware, the director you're referring to was only actually on set very shortly because of this accident.
Yes, it is very very sad. He Jackrabbits had a problem with him, man.
Yeah, that is such a random way to lose your eye.
I'm
But
sorry, just the
I
idea that your accident caused safety glass to become a thing.
I'm not sure if it was direct, but I'm sure it had something to do with it.
I hope it did. It'd be a fucking funny thing. Oh yeah, this some dude who was a really popular actor got his damn eye taken out by a jackrabbit, safety glass included.
That is wild. Uh, I'm trying to remember. There is the main actor in this film, our Mr. Cowboy Man. So actually, let me describe the plot of this one because we've been talking about it a lot. It is pretty much just a generic western. Would you agree?
Oh, very much so.
It's a cowboy who's hunting an outlaw, who's supposed to be Mexican, but is very clearly played by a white guy. Same with the female lead. Oh yes, Warner Baxter. Uh, Warner Baxter. As far as I'm aware, his career didn't last very long after this. I'm looking, and he was in like a couple films after this, but he didn't really reach his heights as he did as a silent actor. And we're going to see this a lot. Sound absolutely upset the film industry.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, sorry,
Um.
not Warner Baxter. I'm thinking of Edmund Lowe, the other guy.
So this person's last role, this is actually a weird thing, is that his last role was in 1950 as in the movie State Penitentiary. But he also, this is a weird thing, his movie before that was also called Prison Warden. He did two prison themed movies back to back.
And then quit Hollywood. That's just how it be.
Yeah.
Oh no, he died. Never mind.
Warner Baxter. So in this film, he actually was nominated for an Oscar because of it, but he also didn't
Yes.
win it.
Yeah. I would like to say that is absolutely insane. I understand that the Oscars was going through a bit of a rough period, and because they were adapting to sound so quickly, this was all kind of very slapdash. Like, yeah, this film probably wasn't the greatest, but you know, it
Yeah.
was a sound film. It was all new. My thing that I'll say is I don't think they should have even got nominated. There were better silent actors, but the Oscars was clearly invested, right, in making sound films more popular. We'll talk about that more as everything kind of progresses.
So this is my impromptu thing to include now into all these videos. The Goonometer. This is oh shit. We got a message from
Uh,
Kizzy Kari. He quit. Oh no, he died.
yeah,
um,
uh,
my
yeah.
Goonometer. The actress Dorothy Borges is my top question is: do those legs go all the way up, madam? Because
You
no no no
horny
no no no
bastard.
no stare at her like what the
Wait. Okay, never
jeez.
mind. I just yeah, no. I've okay, because I'm used to her appearance in this film where they like kind of uglied her up for some reason.
So
Uh, but yeah, holy shit.
she was apparently considered a sex icon, which I agree. Holy shit. Um,
Yeah.
it's kind of fucking based. Um, she gets a solid 7 out of 10 on a Gaguna meter, and we'll be back with that at some point later.
That is fair. I'm sure there'll be another movie where we get to talk about that. What did you think of In Old Arizona?
This is a weird thing I'll say. Beyond the shitty acting, I don't really care about the acting all too heavily. I mean, it's very important. It sets the tone, it sets the narrative, it sets all that other shit. But I feel like there was some heart put into this. There was actual effort. I appreciate that in a movie. Um, I feel like the actors did a decent job, not a good job, but a decent job. And
We're gonna see none of the sound acting is good this year.
yeah, which is understandable. I honestly expect it to not be good, honestly. But the thing that really makes this movie for me is just how stupid the plot is. The plot is stupid. I stand by this. It's a western,
It is
you know,
yeah, westerns never have a good plot generally, unless it's spaghetti western.
and
But this was especially strange.
so the most important actor here was Pat Hartigan. Why, you might
Mm.
ask, old Oz? Because he was considered the cow puncher.
Cow puncher?
Yes. Do you not know what a cow puncher is?
Someone who punches cows, I presume?
Yes.
Why would you punch a cow? What do they do?
Okay. So the historical meaning of a cow puncher meaning they're a cowboy. It's an informal nickname for a cowboy.
Oh, I see. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Uh, what would you give this film?
Honestly, for the quote heart of the movie, I I would honestly consider giving it a 6.
I gave it a 3. I understand your perspective, but I'm sure you can also understand mine to an extent.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is next on our list? Lonesome. This was another partial sound film. I'm going to be honest with you, Scyther. I don't like partial sound films very much. Did you see this one?
I did. Yeah, I did.
What did So this is a romance movie, and it's the plot isn't really anything special. There's just I think she's a flapper. Yeah, she's a flapper, and she's at a carnival, and she meets a guy who's really kind of persistent to a degree that makes me uncomfortable. But it was the 20s, so I expect that.
Is it like the James Bond thing where it's like no means yes, and you just keep saying she keeps saying no, but he's like yes, yes.
Yeah, and it's incredibly uncomfortable. It never gets better. No matter how many times I see that, it's like, ugh, ugh,
The culture of the time that
uh,
goes something crazy.
and not in the way I would want it to.
I can't wait for people like next like 50 years from now, like, wow, these fuckers are way too progressive. Or like, you're not progressive enough. I can't wait for it.
I can't wait to see the pendulum swift, and we're gonna get canceled by weird neoconservatives or something. We'll see. Um, did you have any thoughts or notes on Lonesome?
Yes,
Because I didn't really think much of this movie.
I have actually some trivia. This is actually one of the first motion pictures to have sound in a couple of talking scenes. It was released both in silent and mono actual versions. Some scenes existing in the original print of the film are colored with stencils.
That is crazy. I
Um,
think
this is actually
I think it's interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
a weird thing to note is that this film, its public domain thing, is not 100% if it actually is in a public domain or not, because the lapse on a copyright, and this is again one of those weird things where it's in multiple areas, so we don't actually know if it's actually in the public domain. I mean, so in the United States it is probably. It's weird. It's a weird note.
Yeah, because the public domain has doesn't have a cutoff date.
It does, pretty sure.
Yeah. So you can't just like keep someone alive forever to keep your movie copyrighted.
Oh, final thing to note before I get back to it is this film was actually going to have a sequel. In 1929, Universal announced plans for a sequel, but it just never came to fruition.
Huh. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was there. It was a movie. It was kind of a nothing burger.
This is actually where I'll say I think it's the first film ever to do that. Like officially announced that it was going to have a sequel, but it's never happened.
There might have been other examples, but I personally cannot think of any of them. So,
Lonesome wins it this time.
and that's the only thing it's going to be winning.
On the Goodometer, the actress gets a 2. Let's go on now.
She's a 20s flapper. What did you expect? Yeah, I thought the film was okay.
I'm sorry. I got so surprised that she was alive until 2011. Jeez.
Jesus.
She was like she was 103 years old. Holy fuck.
Damn.
Her last.
Just damn.
Oh, that's a sussy name for her last movie she was ever in.
Oh.
Underage.
Anyways, what would you give Lonesome?
It gets like oh man, it gets a 4. I'm being generous.
What did I give Lonesome? I gave it a 6, so I was even more generous than you were. Let's talk about a good movie. How about that? We got a couple good movies in a row.
Ooh, Speedy!
Speedy! I'm glad. Isn't Harold Lloyd your favorite comedian from this time?
Yes.
Okay, so I believe most people agree, other than Safety Last, Speedy is considered Harold Lloyd's greatest film.
Oh.
And I'm sure you can see why. This is a film about a guy, which I'm sure 100 years later is relatable to a lot of us. Speedy is a guy who cannot hold a job for more than a week. Speedy is trying to find a job while also keeping the last horse-drawn rail cart, or whatever the carts are called in San Francisco, going. Because someone's trying to, like, steal them, or something along those lines. And the plot is whatever. It's a Harold Lloyd film. It has a pretty sweet plot, but that is generally okay. The comedy, however, in this film is insane. This is like Buster Keaton levels of stunts. Uh,
This is such a beautiful film.
mhm.
Yes, to start this out, I, I love Harold fucking Lloyd. Like he's a fucking genius, and he doesn't get the love he deserves. Okay, I'm not enough to tooting Harold's. So,
Horn.
yeah. So I had to bust out the facts because autism. But a fucking trolley car used because yes, it was a trolley car. I believe it's the first film that actually utilized it in its full capacity. Um, it was a Third Avenue railway streetcar, a very common type in New York City. Um,
Oh.
or rather, this particular type of trolley was a Brill streetcar.
Oh.
Yes. Sorry, my autism would not allow me to like not mention that. It's so important to the lore.
Also, it's train adjacent, so I expected this.
Yes.
Uh, I. Okay, so other outside of the rail car, which is a real rail car, and
Yeah.
the fact that this film is uses so many stunts with this thing, and I was so worried about it the entire movie that they were going to break the thing. I really enjoyed this film. This was really fun. This was really upbeat, really what's the word? Fast paced, hence speedy.
I
I really enjoyed this. What did you think of the film overall, from a critical
from a
standpoint?
critical standpoint, this is one of those films that will go down in history to be remembered forever. That's my first statement there. Is that I think it's like the plot. Well, as you said, it was sweet, but it was like it's such an interesting plot line because, mind you, at this point in time, history was changing quite literally. Because
Mm,
the advent of cars, the downfall of the fucking trolley system. I mean, we're seeing the whimpers of the fucking trolley system. Oz, it's slowly going away. It would not see its final collapse until around like I believe like the 50s almost. Around then, I could be wrong about that. I mean, I think it's like the 40s almost. Um,
nah.
but it's such an interesting time. Like it's so cool to see like them fighting to save this inferior mode of transportation. It's like, wow, this is so dated. I love it.
It is really cool to see an era like it's that what's that history does not repeat itself but it rhymes kind of thing.
Yes.
We're seeing a plot about the changing of the robes and the outfits, right? We're
Yeah.
seeing a plot about how times are changing and things are getting abandoned, I think is probably a theme in this movie. Like we're forgetting things almost.
Yes. This is a
Which is weird to say about a comedy that it says something that deep.
this is
And it's not it doesn't really say it in like a super deep way, but it's
yeah.
there.
This is a theme we'll see constantly throughout history. Is especially even now. This is a good point because it goes with the trains, it goes with the trolleys in a way. We're seeing a slow transfer. It's very slow. It's so in America we are very much a train oriented society. No matter where you go, trains will be there. Is it's that cars are way more prolific, obviously, but
Yeah.
trains will never fully go away until a certain man says to himself, the train industry has a damn death grip. It is over. And then we have a thing called Hyperloop, which, in my mind, I view it as a thing that will one day replace the typical mode of trains. It will happen, but of course, unlike the trolley system, which did not have a death grip on everything, trains do have a death grip, and it'll be a very long time before we see it ultimately disappear. But it will happen slowly but certainly, like the trolley.
Like everything else, everything always changes. There's no constant in history other than change.
Yup.
And I think even in a comedy like this, that is very well expressed. Um,
This film deserves,
and the comedy, something I've kind of neglected to talk about because I've gotten too deep into the sauce of philosophy. But something I do want to kind of say about this film is the comedy is really good. There are some witty title cards that are like, "Ooh." I think what is it? I think it says something like Speedy's the only guy who takes his girlfriend to the pier after losing a job or something like that.
yes.
And there's just little lines like that, and there's moments that are just really cute and funny. Um, I really liked this film. I gave it an 8. What did you give it?
This is gonna be a weird statement, but I gave it a fucking 9. I was like, I was so hard going. Like, I really, really want to give it a 10. I just couldn't do it.
It's fair. It's not a perfect film, but it is really good. And I'm not gonna. I don't think many people would argue that it is a really good silent film.
So
And even if you aren't into silent film, I think this will appeal to most people. I think this is easy to watch.
yeah, the one thing why I wanted to give it a 10 so much is because this is actually one of the very rare times we would see the roof, the bathed roof, actually in a fucking film. He was only ever in 10, and this is one of them.
That is crazy. I had heard a story, I don't know how true it is, but one of the main reasons he set this film in San Francisco and around sports and things is so that the nerd Harold Lloyd could meet Babe Ruth and use it as an excuse or use the film as an excuse to do so. And
um,
that's so like that feels so accurate to what I know about Harold Lloyd.
yeah, this is a really good film, and it's one of those where you kind of have to watch it at least once.
It's one of those films you have to watch before you die kind of things.
Yeah, it's something that's I just wish more films were like it. It's so wholesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty good feel good movie. We'll see some more like that in the future. We're going to talk about one that I'm sure you're going to absolutely splooge over. Spies, or I think the actual title is Spione. It's German. This is another Fritz Lang film. Uh, could you? I assume you watched it because it's German. Uh,
I love this film.
could you
This
try to explain the plot? Because I was so confused.
okay. So it's about a criminal. That's for starters. Of
Okay.
course, there, but not as a criminal mastermind. He's always ahead of the police. Very important to note that because otherwise, this wouldn't really work out. Of course, an agent we sent after him. A dashing young man, as typically these movies would go. It's kind of funny that a Sherman film would kind of inspire a lot of spy-based films. It's like copy repeat this process forever.
It is strange how much of this film would become a trope, which I assume wasn't much of a trope since I don't think there were many spy movies before 1928.
There was not. Of course, it would. So, like I said before, this would introduce a lot of common themes that we'll see a lot. For example, James Bond would utilize this all the time. They would utilize a sexy woman, in this case, a Russian spy, uh, who is trying to subvert all the efforts, but it doesn't work out, and she fucking falls in love with him because that's how it always goes.
This is
Um,
why we can't have nice things.
I believe that this film is just it's one of those funny ones. Of course, by the way, Fritz Lang is involved with this, so Metropolis guy.
Yeah, so generally speaking, if a film's made by Fritz Lang, I'm probably going to love it because I love his work. And there are very few films of Mr. Lang that I do not like, and actually, I don't think there's any that I actually like dislike. I think there's some that are mid, but that's about as far as it goes. Um, that being said, I didn't like this one as much as I liked other Lang films. Though I will say it does have that kind of kinetic boldness that I love about his work. Great example. Scyther, how does this film open? The first 10 seconds of this movie.
Sorry. I'm sorry. You're reminding me of like this of this. Okay, so in the version I was like watching because mind you, it gave us opening credits first, and so that took a large portion of it. Like a lot of this film for me, mind you, it was just a bunch of credits, but then it opened up to the safe opening. It was just like wow, and a key, and it was a bunch of opening, and I was bored for a second.
Yes. But the main part of the opening that I'm referring to is that the movie kind of opens like the actual plot. There's a guy in a car, and then a dude just pops out of another car and shoots him, and then the movie begins.
One of the most important parts is the motorcycle, which is, I believe one of the first times we'll actually see a motorcycle used in a movie.
Yeah, it is. Badass. Actually, this whole film is badass. You know what this feels like? This is like imagine if you ask a person like a film student to make a movie that's like a 1920s version of a spy movie. Like this feels way too modern and way too influential to be a real movie, but it is a real movie. And that is absolutely insane. I really liked this movie. Even if I didn't quite understand it all the time because the plot got a little convoluted, mostly because of all the goddamn title cards. What did you think of Spies?
I believe that this is a film that is so important to the spy genre as a whole because it kind of
Mhm.
set the tone and narrative and how they would, as I said before, to repeat a lot of these same tropes even today. Like, there's actually one of the few genres where there's not really much evolution. There's not much at all. It's kind of all the same.
Yeah, I would agree. The spy genre has not changed too much over the years. I mean, it's changed in obviously ways in the whole industry has changed, right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously technology, but other than that, this film is pretty much untouched.
The one thing I do think is interesting is so in spy movies, the actor
Mhm,
is the main lead, the pro tag is always a man. That's just
mhm,
like it's like an unspoken an unspoken thing that it's always
mhm.
it has to be a man. And but
Unless it was that Ocean's movie that no one liked.
yeah, and of course we would see this try and be subverted and females finally getting their time to shine, but those movies just never ever work out. They just don't, and for a reason that's very important is that when you're reusing a same trope over and over again, you need to keep every essence of it, which is it has to be a male actor, a male lead. It's just it's just how it is for some genres. This is just that one genre where you can't really be progressive. I mean, of course, you can include some progressive ideas, but you can't change the core foundation that a spy has to be the man. He can
Which
be
is so dumb because, like, if you think about it in other media, like, let's say literature, there are plenty of spy books starring women.
very
Because
true.
in a practical sense, if you're talking about like 1940s through the 20s through the 40s, it makes sense to have a female spy because most
Yes,
dudes in power are dudes. But
yes,
because it is an established trope of spy movies that it's a dude, they just stick like that. And if you try to subvert it, people get upset. And I think that's kind of
yes.
dumb, but that's just how media works, and it's really frustrating. But I do agree that this film is really super influential and would essentially lay the script for every other spy movie.
Which is so it's both a good thing and a bad thing because of course it's kind of very emphasis here is that you can't really be innovative with this genre. I mean, you can change a few things, but it always has to kind of like follow the same structure to a degree.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's always there's always some callbacks to the tropes that you have to make, and I see that 100%.
Here's a fun
Well,
fact.
go.
I just toss it out here. It's so important. Is that Gerda Maras, she what would debut in this film, and she would cause the she would cause the divorce from him and his wife.
Oh,
He and
goddamn.
Gerda were very close.
Oh, too close.
Yeah, for a married man.
I can see the problem.
Yeah. Um, it's an oofy. Oh well. It is kind of funny. It's kind of funny is that she's still being credited to this very day to be his former wife because she was involved heavily in Metropolis.
Mm.
Yep, it's just kind of cool. She started or rather her writings were utilized in the 2001 iteration of Metropolis.
Oh, I forgot there was a remake. Interesting.
It is anime
Uh,
style though.
oh, oh, never mind.
We'll have to cover
Uh,
that one when we get to it.
what did you give Spies?
Honestly, uh, mm, a 10.
I give it an 8.
My main reasoning is because of just how much it impacted the entire genre. Of course, I believe that solely there actually was a spy movie before this one. I can't remember its name. I have to actually double check that because hold on. What was the...
Didn't I know Le Vampires kind of had a espionage tinge to it, but that was criminals.
So apparently, most people consider the first ever quote unquote spy movie to be the German Spy Peril, which was in 1914. Although the argument that OHMS or spies itself could also be considered the also first spy movie.
Interesting.
But
Okay.
Spies is the only one that really, dives into it immediately. That it is very much clearly a spy movie. The others just have like, elements.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, no, I think both are fair ratings. I can see why you would give this a 10, not just because the Germany bias. We got a Keaton film next. We have Steamboat Bill Jr.
Which is a fucking
Uh,
title.
yeah, I know. I was just going to comment on how awful that title is. The film, though, pretty good. It's another nautical themed Keaton movie because apparently Keaton cannot make a movie while it does not involve a vehicle. Uh, this one's about steamboats, as you would imagine, and is really inventive and really funny. Uh, I can't really go into much more detail because it is just a comedy about steamboats.
And unfortunately, my autism does not, extend to boats.
Unfortunate. We'll have to find someone else for boat facts in the future.
I will toss
Uh,
in a few fun facts though, just to
yeah,
lengthen
go
this
ahead.
out a little bit. The hat that Bill Jr. in this case would remove from his head and hands back to the clerk with a frown is Buster Keaton's own trademark pork pie hat.
Yes, that's a really weird name for a hat.
Yep. Oh, and the stunt where he falls off the wall falls on old Buster. It was actually a full like an actual like fucking wall like actual like full on.
Yes, this is the movie that has the famous wall thing where he stands on one spot and the building falls on him, but he's standing in a window so it doesn't actually hurt him. Yeah, that's a real wall because Buster Keaton's insane, and to this day, that is one of the craziest stunts I have ever seen because he had a mark on the ground to stand on. Remember, he
Yes.
walks on screen as this thing's about to fall on him. If he had misjudged it by an inch, he'd be dead on the spot.
Yeah. This is back, when Hollywood actually did their own actual like stunts full on. I mean, some people still do it today, but it was more dangerous. It was way more interesting. Come on, guys, live a little. Who cares if you die maybe once or twice? You'll be alright. Walk it off.
I think I'm with modern regulations on this. Maybe we shouldn't have actors doing these things.
Well,
Either way,
this is a film
go
where
ahead.
I think it was good enough. It it wasn't amazing, but it was good. I gave it a 6.
I gave it an 8.
Mm.
Both in the same ballpark. Storm over Asia. I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch this one. I was kind of burnt out on Soviet propaganda when I was. Also, I heard it was about like a Russian guy playing a Mongolian man. And I was like, oh, that's in poor taste. As far
um.
as I'm aware, though, this movie is about like communism spreading in Asia, correct?
Yes. I of course have a speech prepared for this film.
Oh,
Yes. Something you have to realize, Oz, is that when it comes to movies, I will have to give some of the greatest speeches.
only when
Um,
it's propaganda, though.
yes, very important. Has to be propaganda. Um, comrades, citizens, and lovers of truth and enemies of imperial lies, let us gather to celebrate not merely a film, but a blazing cinematic revolution. A juggernaut of celluloid fury that exposes the savage and underbelly of colonial oppression, raises the banner of proletarian justice, high over the windswept steppes. Storm over Asia is no ordinary film. It is a declaration of war against the smug arrogance of empires. It is a howl from a throne of history itself, roaring across the frozen mountains and vast tundras of Mongolia. A cry for freedom so powerful it might shatter the icy grip of imperialism. With Bethelab Punkin has crafted here is no it is not entertainment. It is a spiritual weapon, forged in the fires of revolutionary fervor. Behold the tale of a humble fur trader, and every man troubled by the greed of colonial treachery, who rises like a phoenix to become a force of unstoppable vengeance. This is not just one man's journey, but the collective rage of the oppressed. brought to life. The Imperialists may wield their rifles, their coins, and unholy crosses of lies, but they are no match for the raw and simple spirit of the people. Storm of Asia reminds us that the mightiest army cannot withstand the fury of a storm and blows through for justice. And what Tolkien's genius, his use of montage did not merely show events, it summons them. When the winds of the steppes roar, it's not just a sound, it's the voice of history crying for revolution. When a soldier's bullets fly, it is not death alone, it's the final gasp of an empire. You will leave the theater shaken, your heart pounding as if you were charging the fray itself. Critics may sneer, imperialists may cower, the faint heart may look away, but Storm of Asia will endure. It's people's anthem. It's one of the greatest movies in existence, and if you dislike it, you're a pussy.
I thought you were going to say capitalist, but...
Same thing.
that was bold. Now that you can take your Stalin hat off, what did Scyther think of Storm Over Asia? Because I don't have much to say since I didn't see it.
It was mid.
It was mid. I always love that you give these like empowered speeches, and then you actually talk about the film. I was like, it was okay.
I think it was so this movie is very important in the fact that it is, as a speech, went about, is that, it showed the dying of an empire. Mind you, the British were at this point, slowly going away. And so was the other empires around this time were slowly just going away. And it's very important, this is a very good movie in the fact that it captures that this is an era where empires are dying. It's very important.
It is crazy to think that we're watching movies from a time where there are still emperors and kings.
Yep, it's
not many of them, but they're still around.
Yeah, it's such a weird time. I mean, this sort of purely on the fact that it, was able to capture, the messaging. If you're a filthy commie, it's great. I mean, for me, I don't really care about, the whole political message or the propaganda, but I do like the fact that it captured history for what it was at the time, even though it is clearly biased, which is fine. Keep the message in mind, but always remember that there's salt to all this.
Yeah, it is interesting to hear about a movie. It is very niche, I will say, the concept, from what I understand, of communism spreading to Asia. Yeah, what'd you give it?
I give this film, so the fact that I said it was mid, I gave it a fucking 5. Now, if it wasn't for all the communist bullshit, it'd be a 7, probably.
That's fair. How would you rank it among the other communist propaganda films, compared to Strike?
Out of all of those, I believe that this is actually the best out of all of them thus far, because it tackles Asia, which is something that's, not really talked about thus far up until really this.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Asian movies because the British keep absolutely throat fucking any Asian country they can find.
Yeah, and I believe that it captures. This is a country I love, Mongolia. It's just there now, but at one point it was like, did I hear boss music? Yeah, because they were the boss.
It is crazy to think about how times change, even in this grand time scale that is so far away from us. We're still talking about a time that's 90 plus years away from us.
Yeah. This is a film that is good. You know what? I'll take it back. It's not even mid. It's a good film just because it captures Asia, and that's something you won't be seeing too much for a while.
I don't remember when our first Asian film is. I think we still got a while. Technically, Tang is set in Asia, but it's a documentary from an American perspective, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, we're not counting that.
Next up is The Cameraman, another Keaton film. This one I think is way better than Steamboat Bill Jr., but they're still in the 8 range. Spoilers on my rating, by the way.
Keaton is, so I jerk off to him Lloyd a lot, but Keaton's good too. I like Keaton.
Yeah, Keaton's pretty good, and I personally, I was with you when I started this. I was under the impression or the belief that Harold Lloyd is my favorite comedian, but I think now it's Keaton.
Respect.
This is another really funny film. It's about the world's worst journalist. I think is a pretty accurate way to describe it.
This is actually, I believe, the first film that tackles. So this is a weird one. So in most, like today, in modern age, and even I believe even before that to a degree, we don't really utilize real life brands. Like movie, like for example, movie studios or fucking food or this, that, and third. There's a reason for that because one, so usually when you do that, you have to pay because that's how it is. In other cases,
Mhm.
you'll get some troubles, legal issues. It's not worth a fucking hassle. But this is actually the first movie I believe that tackles on that. The whole fucking plot is that our boy here, old Buster, is in love with a woman who works at MGM Studios, a real life fucking studio. Which
I think the reason they can bring it up is because this is an MGM film.
yes. So this is pretty important this is the first film that would do this. I believe this is
Mhm.
my I can't confirm this. I have not looked into this, but I believe this is.
Mhm.
Is the first to actually tackle that, which is cool. I mean, personally, I prefer the fucking fake stuff. You're like, oh, this universe is the big thing, and I like that because for a person like me who loves tabletops, I love to set things tabletops that I don't want to use real life brands. I want to use their brands.
Because you can do wacky stuff and make jokes.
Yeah.
Uh, I Yeah, that's an interesting point. I never thought about this film. Also, important thing about Buster Keaton. Buster Keaton has described his moving to MGM as quote the worst mistake of his life. Multiple times, not in a funny way, in like a yeah, that was a terrible decision kind of way. And I can see why he was given a lot less creative freedom. Though this film, I think is still pretty good. I love the action. It's still very stunt heavy. There's a monkey, I think. Yes,
Yes.
there's a monkey in this movie, which is very random. There is there is some weird like kind of racist stuff about Chinese people, and that was a little uncomfortable. But the film at large was pretty entertaining.
This
What did
is.
you think of the cameraman?
I thought it was intriguing. Um,
Mhm.
I just love the idea behind the film. Like again, I was gushing over a whole plot line. They're using a real life thing. Um,
Mhm.
I thought the comedy was neat. There was some comedy in here and there. I like that. The
Yeah.
overall plot wasn't that intriguing, despite my gushing. It was like, oh, it's okay. It's another one of those with comedy romance going on. Um,
Yeah.
but my real tackling point here is the actual trivia, because this film actually has a lot of interesting trivia.
Oh no.
This film was actually almost lost fucking forever at one point. Um,
Oh.
the only known copy was destroyed in a fucking fire at a storage vault. Um, and then but fortunately, there was a copy of a master of a master copy in a random fucking film area in Paris.
Oh.
But it's not the entire fucking film. No, no, no. There are certain parts that are lost forever, but majority of film is still there. Oh, all the important parts, for at least.
Hmm.
Although one thing that people don't know is that Buster Keaton, the ending, so the ending was shot with him smiling, but it was previewed and people hated the fuck out of it. So
Because Buster Keaton doesn't smile.
yes, the studio insisted, they demanded that he fucking smiled, but it turns out Buster was right. No, no, nobody fucking like it.
Shocking.
Yeah. So only two scenes were improvised on the spot. Very important to note there.
Mm.
The baseball scene and the piggy bank scene were improvised. Everything else was scripted.
Interesting.
Yep, that is all.
It is interesting too because Buster Keaton is kind of known for his improvised scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the era where we start seeing a lot less of that, which is unfortunate, but also kind of a symptom of the age, right? We're starting to
Yeah.
get into an era where the studios are getting a lot more power,
Which breaks my heart.
and yeah, so yeah, uh, I gave the cameraman an 8.
I give it a 7.
That's fair. We have another comedy. Comedies were really big this year.
The
The
Circus.
Circus.
By Chaplin.
we have another good Chaplin film, though this is definitely not my favorite Chaplin film. We kind of gushed over it when we were talking about the Oscars, but that was because there weren't a ton of great comedies from 1927. There's some good ones, but not all amazing. Uh, Obviously, there was The General. This film, however, it's kind of like when you think of silent movies, you may think of like a guy who thinks of a concept like or a theme and then builds a comedy around it. That's what this is. Charlie Chaplin went, what about circus? And then he made a circus movie and had like multiple mental breakdowns during the filming of this. Um, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the fun fact correctly, he was told by the IRS that he owes them millions of dollars. He got divorced. Someone in his family died, and he lost the negatives to one of the most important scenes
Yeah.
after practicing it for months.
Yep.
So this was also bad that allegedly his hair was turning gray. And Chaplin wasn't old at this point. He was like in his 30s, I think.
Around
20s,
that.
30s. Yeah. Uh Outside of all the weirdness, there's not a lot to say about the circus. Like, do you have anything?
Um, I just thought it actually lets me dive into not really the circus. Well, I mean, she's an important part of the circus, so she's the actress Myrna Kennedy, who
Mm.
is a traitor to her people.
Oh.
Her original name was Maud Collar. Yeah.
Oh.
Um, she was a German, and
Mm.
she gets this is gonna be a whole thing for me. I'm doing this from now on. The Gunometer.
Oh no.
She gets a fucking 5. She's based looking. I also think she was a very sweet woman, and unfortunately, she died quite young for this time around. She died
Mm.
at the age of 36 from a heart attack, which is typically a male thing to kill you. Um, this is where it gets sad is that she was married, so she got married just fucking 4 days prior.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh. That's rough.
yeah, that's just it's just really sad. I mean, mind you, she stopped acting 10 years prior to this. It's just sad.
So at least she got to retire, I guess.
Yeah, it just sucks. But she was based. Uh, she was a good actress, and some of the things I've seen her in already. But overall, I think the film was okay. It was nothing too special to me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought Gush over it. It's a Chaplin film. I'm gonna jerk it off all damn day every day. But like when I just think about it one more on it, I'm like, was it really eh?
It wasn't special, I think. It's like a lot of Chaplin's films are really unique and really different from each other. This wasn't one of them. This was very much a by the numbers Chaplin film.
Yeah. The thing that's important is this will be the final film for Chaplin that is of the silent era, truly. So he make
Mm.
he make two more quote unquote silent films, but not really. They included sound to some degree.
Yeah. I can't wait till we get to The Great Dictator and we get to talk more about that film. Because that's
Yeah.
going to be wild.
So
Yeah, I give it a 7.
yeah, I'm around the same area, 7.
Yeah. Um, oh my god, I was mean to this next film. The Crowd. This was one of the films. This was that film that got cucked out of being Best Picture. Uh, this is a movie about a guy who lives on a farm, falls in love with a girl, and moves to the city, and realizes that he's just another guy and he's not actually very special. That's kind of it. It's mostly a romance film.
I mean, which is I mean, good on it for saying what it is. It's truly it's a romance film.
Yeah. I thought the film was a little misguided. A lot of people tend to interpret this film as being like this grand anti-capitalist, anti like modern age film. It really isn't. This is a film that purely exists to dunk on city folk. That's what this film's about. It's just a film talking about how terrible city people are.
This is actually where I want to tackle into the main actor a bit. Usually I would only really tackle into females because the Gunometer, but in other cases, if they're like really good, I want okay, these are people that need to be covered. This is an actor who I believe deserves to be mentioned because he was nobody really special at the end of the day. He was a nobody really,
Mm,
but he deserves to be talked about because one, how he dies, which
mm.
is a sad. Um, 7 years after, several years after this film when it was made, he would be heavy into his alcoholism, and
Ooh,
it would lead to him becoming a panhandler and beg for money on the streets. This person who was once he wasn't a really big actor, but he was like known enough to actually get jobs. Um,
I mean,
ironically,
he was in a Best Picture nominated film.
yeah, ironically, this is kind of like an irony thing. Is the person who created this film would be somebody that he would see on the street one day. He would ask for money. You know, King Vidor would say, "How about instead of money, I'll give you a role in a semi sequel to this film called Our Daily Bread."
Mm.
Murray, who is the main actor here, would decline it, and because Murray was very prideful, and he thought this was purely out of pity. 2 years later, he would die at the age of 35 in a drowning incident. This death would actually cause King Vidor to write a named life story based on an unrealized screenplay, which he called The Actor. It's just really sad that it's such an important thing to really talk about is how alcoholism affects actors, because actors are people that really get overlooked when it comes to drugs and alcohol. It's something that's so prevalent in their circles.
We're even seeing in this era, we're seeing actors that are addicted to cocaine. We're seeing actors that are like, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and it's sad. It's not the thing we want when we, of course, this Twitch won't like it, but the porn industry is cracked through people on drugs even today, and it's actually like one of the main leading deaths for them is drugs or disease, but usually just drugs or suicide.
Yeah, that is
Um,
rough. That is
actually,
depressing.
while we're here, okay, I know we won't really talk about it because it's pornography. Um, but should we like at least talk about the first ever big thing that popped up for that? I mean, I think it's important because there is a whole genre.
I suppose it's, you could mention it. Twitch probably won't ban us immediately.
We have to hunt down the first ever one. Then I don't. You know what? Keep talking.
Is
I'll hunt it down.
yeah, it's fair. We'll have to. That might make a funny short, actually. Uh, yeah. The back to the crowd. I didn't love this film as much as a lot of people do. A lot of people consider this some great masterpiece, and after having seen it, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's not that good. It's kind of mid.
Mm.
There's a lot to like here, but there's just a lot to not like here. It tries to go really hard into this anti-city folk message, and I get it. It's the 20s, but it just doesn't really hold up. The actual message here isn't very interesting. So I assume what's happening is a lot of people are trying to derive a message that does not exist.
I stand a bit against that. I actually think it rings true, even more so now than then, especially
Okay.
now. Um, so if you haven't paid much attention, with the politics of right now, there is a massive movement of people leaving cities because they're just tired of it. For
That's fair.
of course, there's also people trying to like split their entire states from cities because they're tired of the city folk deciding what they want to do over what we want. It's a this film brings a lot more true now than then, I believe, which is very important. Um, I do believe that people lose their individuality when they move to cities because they're trying to fit in with the crowds, which is all fucking fine and dandy. You just kind of have to. It's part of the whole social thing. It's the social norm. But I think people should keep their individuality at the end of the day because you are still you. And no matter how much of you changes, you have to keep who you are. But some people don't do that. They want to fit into their clique. They want to fit in their fucking politics. And I think this movie's message is right on the money, especially today.
That's fair. I think that's a valid interpretation to have. I just interpreted it a little differently, I suppose, and maybe I need to rewatch it because I was a salty boy when I watched it the first time.
um, I now know what the first ever porno was.
Oh
Um,
no.
it's called The Satyr, or rather, El Sartorio, which means the devil. It was first created in 1907, but the film would never be released until 1930 in Cuba.
We're gonna have to look into that. That's gonna be a weird short. Um, what would you give the crowd?
I think, I'm gonna give it to it. It's 10.
It's perfect.
Yeah, this is a perfect film. So for a modern viewer, usually these films never hold up. It held up. For right now in 2024. This film speaks to me. This film is perfect, especially for right now in the current political scheme and how people are currently acting in society. This is perfect. Now, 10 years, it might give you a whole different response on this, but right now, it's perfect.
I gave it a 5. I had some problems with the film. Like I said, I thought the performance was good. I just thought the writing was really weak in places and really ham-fisted. Uh, it was all right. Here's a film that I'm sure we're both going to agree on: The Docks of New York.
Oh, another fucking romance.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedies and romance films.
I get
This
it
is
still.
yeah, this is a film about a dock worker, and I think a was she a prostitute or something?
I think
I don't
so.
remember. Something like that. I think was this directed by who I think it was? Because if it is, I need to say something. Because it is.
Joseph von Sternberg.
Yep. Okay, it's a Sternberg movie. Every single Sternberg movie has a prostitute in it for some reason. All of them. I'm sure not every single one of them, but like almost all of them feature a prostitute.
Mm,
I don't know what is Sternberg's thing for prostitutes, but like I'm looking at his thing, right?
yeah.
Shanghai Express has a prostitute. The Blue Angel, it's about a prostitute. Morocco, it's about a prostitute. The Scarlet Empress, like it just keeps going. Like all of his films are about prostitutes. After having seen so many of his films, it's just one of those things where I'm like, dude, why? Why is that your signature? Anyways, back to the movie though. This was mid. This was so mid. This was
Yeah.
nothing movie territory. But I won't push my views. What did you think of The Docks of New York?
It's okay. I mean, the film, meh. The fucking actress though, Betty Compson.
Oh, the Guno meter's going
The
off.
the Guno is so strong this episode. She was a baddie. She gets an 8 on the Guno. Um, she would eventually retire from the whole acting and shit. She's like, not worth my time. She would eventually, though. This is actually kind of been funny. It details the Klondike Gold Strike.
Mm.
It turns out her family was actually quote unquote rich for a time, but
Oh,
they didn't know that until later.
oh.
She would ultimately retire from as I said before, and she would make a company called Ashtrays Unlimited.
They made ashtrays, I presume.
Yes. Um,
Okay then.
she in 1912 would be sent a Rolls Royce by a South American who had it stored in a New York garage. But she was very much annoyed because she already had a limo. But she would later learn that she could rent it out to the movie studios for $100 a day, which was a lot of money.
That is a lot of money
She made $20 thousand
at the
dollars
time.
for ultimately selling it. But
This woman's smart.
this would actually inspire a situation in the movie Sunset Boulevard in 1950.
Mm. Look at you having all the knowledge.
um,
Uh, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
this is a film that I just think that it wasn't that good. It just wasn't special. But that's okay. Not every film has to be special. It just lacked something that I just couldn't find much interest in this film.
It was a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really. Usually I would just give a little factoid in this film, but I have nothing to really give. I mean, it has facts to it, but you know what? No, I'll say this. So the author Kevin Brownlow would call this movie the greatest Sternberg film ever made.
He is wrong.
This is a film, what he said is the one film in which seems to care about his characters. But
What are you
apparently,
talking about?
apparently, many critics and film historians also agree it's one of his very best films.
I'm sorry. Sternberg made Shanghai Express and what other? He made some other great films. Sorry. I messed up my page. Shanghai Express. There it is. So he made that film. He's made a bunch of films. Like Sternberg is a like prolific director. Probably not the most prolific, but he's been there. The Blue Angel, Morocco. Like I said, Blonde Venus. I didn't like it that much, but it was probably better than Docks in New York. The Last Command. Okay, maybe he made one film that didn't feature a prostitute. He made Underworld, Thunderbolt. And you're saying Docks in New York is his best work. Not you, I'm saying the film historians.
I think
No.
that it's a film that maybe have to rewatch to get what they're going for here with the characters and compare it to all the others. But I don't know.
What would you give it?
Honestly, it got up in five for me.
I think it actually got the same rating. Yeah, I also gave it a 5. Let's talk about something that isn't about two people falling in love. Actually, no, it kind of is.
Oh Jesus
The
Christ!
Last Command. This is a weird movie. The plot of this is so strange. It's about Emil Yannings, who plays a former Russian oligarch, aristocrat,
He was an imperial
right?
general.
Yeah, sorry, general. A general who flees Russia and becomes an extra where he plays a general.
It's fucking funny.
It's very meta. It's that was that film as a subversive device?
Yeah,
Because you're watching a movie that's mostly a flashback about a guy playing himself, basically. And that may be a statement on Hollywood and how they tend to like jump on the wagon way too soon after events had just happened,
yeah.
which I think we've seen that happen a lot. Uh, Now, Emil Yannings won an Oscar for this role, and as much as I hate Emil Yannings as a person, I think he deserved Best Actor for this.
I agree.
This performance was everything that you can like about Emil Yannings as an actor. It is misery. That is like the one thing that Yannings is good at is just being miserable all the time. And he does that most of this movie. He is very emotional and dramatic, and this film is both of those things, and it fits him as an actor very well.
The
That
one
being
thing,
said, the movie itself is strange.
this is actually where it's very important to note this film is based off real life, like actually.
Oh, really?
Yes, the entire film is based off the actor, or rather, the former Russian general Theodore Lodley, who literally same thing happened to him. He fled Russia and he became an extra.
Did he also have a heart attack after doing his first scene?
I believe so.
Oh, shit. I did not know that. Damn. Okay.
But
That's
this
kind of messed
film,
up.
yeah, this film is also, or rather, an actor, or rather, actress in this case, is also super important because this would be the first time where we see an actress, Evelyn Brent in this case. She would live long enough to actually star in a TV show. This is a rare case where we would not see this for many actors around this time period.
Oh, what TV show is it?
Wagon Train.
Never heard of it, and I am not shocked. But it, doesn't sound terrible.
It's a western. Of course it is.
I'm sure that we're going to get in trouble for keep doing this. What does she get on the Guno meter?
A 2.
Oh, not your thing. You don't like the really strong facial featured women.
No, not really. Although her life story is sad. I'll give her that.
She's an actress. It comes with the territory.
Her mom died. Her dad was like, "All right, let's move to fucking over here." They did that, and then she became an actress. And
Oh,
I'm gonna be real. A lot of these actresses make me even sad, and I don't want to look at them for too much. But
that's fair.
apparently, she was considered the Wampus baby star of 1923.
What the fuck does that mean?
You know, let me take a look at that, Oz.
What does that mean? You just said a bunch of noises at me.
So it's an award that would basically be given to 13 young actresses each year who maybe would be on the threshold of movie stardom. It would stop being given out though eventually. It
This
would.
sounds really dumb.
It's just an award thing, which I mean, actually, they were choosing some real dime pieces for that. Hey, yo, hold on. Hey, it was kind of banging. So it went from 1922 to 1934. Unfortunately, as you might tell, it did not survive.
The depression really fucked it.
It
Uh-huh.
really did. Um, we actually should cover this eventually at one point, Oz. But we actually have a wow. This is actually a really damn well done list. Wikipedia. Look at you.
Look at you, Wikipedia. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Don't be wrong. I I do like the
Is that
Oscars and covering the Oscar stuff. Although it is cool to peek at all these other awards that were around at the time. I mean, this is pretty neat.
is that who I think it is? Sorry, I'm looking at the picture. Is that who I think it is? Is that a little sorry, we'll talk about this later, I suppose. But um there she is. Yes, her. What movie we were talking about? Oh yes, The Lost Command. Um got sidetracked. Welcome to podcasting. Uh, what did you? Of course, Lillian Gish got a fucking award from this. Um, oh no, she didn't. Sorry, she's just someone who looks like Lillian Gish. What did you think of The Lost Command?
But it was good. I mean, it wasn't the greatest movie ever, but honestly, it was pretty damn good. I enjoyed it for what it was. I like the fact that it was based off an actual true story. This is actually one of the few times we can say that. Oh wait, that actually happened.
I would describe this film as solid. This was good. I agree with you pretty much 100% on this. Like, it was good. It wasn't amazing, but I think it's cool that this was like an actual story that happened. I think it's a really interesting story. Um, yeah. Um, I gave it a 7.
I, I'm the one up you a little bit. 7.5.
Valid. Oh, we're getting through the films. Here's another weird one that I think you probably liked, but we'll see. The Man Who Laughs.
This is a good film.
This is a really good film. This is about a guy who, as a child, is afflicted with this condition where he cannot stop smiling, like his face is permanently affixed in a grin. I believe he gets like gas attacked or something, right?
The original Joker.
He's okay. So there's a couple weird facts about this film. Firstly, the Joker is literally directly inspired by The Man Who Laughs. This film directly inspired the visual part of the Joker, uh, and probably a little bit of his backstory. Another thing about this movie is I don't know if it's a fact, it's more just so my interpretation of it. This film has some of I'm gonna say it right here, right now. This is the best performance of 1928.
Hard agree.
This is I'm trying to remember the name of the actor who plays this man. One second, let me get that up really fast. But this is legit. Like, if anyone is into acting, they need to study this man and this performance because this is crazy. How much emotion that Mr. Conrad Veidt I think. No, is that wait? Fuck no, that's the wait. Who is our main man? One second. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Conrad Veidt. Conrad Veidt. I'm probably butchering that name. It's German. I can't do it properly. But he manages to display so much emotion and so much raw feeling in a character who is categorized by their inability to express their facial features. Remember, this is a silent film too, so he can't even use his voice to express his emotions. He is just using essentially the top part of his face.
Which is
And
so
the range that he gets out of this is both horrifying and amazing.
good.
He's able to really show this kind of fright filled man, right? This guy who's scared of the world because, frankly, the world laughs at him because of his weird face.
Yeah.
Uh, it is really cute that his main love interest is a woman who's blind. It is kind of problematic that the idea that they thought no man, no woman could love this man unless she couldn't see him. Though it is kind of sweet that even he has someone who cares about him deeply.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's actually a running trope in a lot of movies that will be coming, and a lot of TV shows that will eventually be coming, and even to a point to a degree, to even today, it's not really touched on that much anymore. A lot of men or women who are ugly, they in movies they tend to get their women's choice can't see them, they can't hear. Like let's say you sound is really horrible, well they're deaf, and it's
Mhm.
something that just happens. It's like you can still get love, but the person you has to be with you they're disabled somehow. Sorry.
Yeah, that's kind of it is kind of messed up. Though the film does have a really interesting plot as it progresses, as the man who laughs discovers more about his past and who he actually is. This is a really solid film. I might have to amend my old rating because this is really good. What did you think of The Man Who Laughs?
I think that it was truly a touching film that it will try and touch your heartstrings, which is very important. Because
Mhm,
this film is sad to a degree.
mhm,
Um, I think the overall plot was really good, and it wasn't fast paced, but it also wasn't that slow. It was good enough to where I was intrigued to keep watching, which is important for a film like this one, where they're really trying to set a romance path here, but
mhm.
they're also still trying to keep one. The point is that this man is well, he's not ugly, he's just disfigured. Um,
Yeah,
I think they did a really good job there. This is also one of the few rare films that actually has a 100% rating on for critics on the Rotten Tomatoes, which is kind of cool.
you know, good on them. That is a really good take.
Um,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Conrad Vet would win a Golden Train Award, which is trains. Um,
Sorry.
interestingly, originally the actor, the main lead, was not supposed to be the guy we got. It was supposed to be damn Lon Chaney or Chaney, whatever.
No, God. Oh, that would have been terrible. Could you imagine Phantom of the Opera Lon Chaney trying to play this?
It would have been funny. So the reason why they didn't get him was they decided this right after this movie like right around this movie was the Phantom of the Opera or rather
Yeah.
something else they did. Um, he's like, well, I'll just do this instead. Which I mean, better choice for real.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be honest, Lon Chaney is a real out there pick. Fucking
um,
Lon Chaney. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. What the fuck? Is it because he played a monster man?
I believe so. Yeah, I guess that was the good choice there. I mean, we'll never know how it could have gone. I think he could have maybe done it. Maybe I don't know.
But we both can agree that it was probably more likely that he would have fucked it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um. Of course, back to the Joker because Uh,
Yes.
Payne's fixed grin and disturbing crown-like appearance was the key inspiration for comic book writer Bill Finger and the artist Bob Kane and Jerry Robinson in creating one of the most iconic comic book villains in ever in existence, the Joker, which is Very important to note because, of course, the Joker is a super important comic book villain. Um, I think the Joker overall, he kind of encapsulates who the character is to a degree from the movie to a degree. Because mind you, there's no real romance. Is that there's a tragedy going on? Of course, in some instances, we do see some romance from the Joker. Of course,
Mhm,
almost always involving fucking Harley Quinn, because well,
mhm.
why wouldn't it? Um, I do believe there actually is a issue or a scene where we see a blonde woman fucking falling in love with Joker. I can't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
I think it's a neat callback. But in any case, the movie. This is I don't hand these out, but this is a 10.
I gave this an 8 originally, but I honestly think this is a 9. This is a really, really good film. It is the performance obviously is front and foremost, but the plot is really good. The sets are really good. Uh, uh, the cinematography is pretty good. I mean, for the time, it's the 20s. Cinematography is just gonna
Yeah.
be it's gonna be whatever.
So my main
Uh,
reason as to why I'm giving it a 10 is purely just based off the actor going ham using his face.
oh yeah, no, that is a very fair point. I would not counter that.
Even today, it's hard for any actor to really do that.
100%. That
Oh,
is, it's one of those like miracles of the a film. It's one of those like legendary performances that I really think should become yeah, uh, you know what I'm saying, should become revered and well remembered because it is a really really substantial role.
yeah.
Uh, but oh, okay, we got a few films left. These next few are going to be a little short, but this one is not. Another film that really focuses on acting, The Passion of Joan of Arc.
The cover, by the way, looks like Elon Musk in drag.
I wish I could say you were wrong, but yeah, no, it's kind of ugly. The poster is not great. A lot of these posters, as we have probably mentioned, gushed about many times, are really beautiful. The Man Who Laughs poster that we're showing on the slideshow. Oh, oh, that poster goes hard. Though this one for The Passion of Joan of Arc, not so much. Ooh, it's ugly. Uh, this is a film. I assume most of us can figure out the plot. It's about the trial of Joan of Arc after she does her stuff and figuring out if she's a witch. And again, I give myself the right to do this once per episode. I'm just going to read my review. Where's my review? There it is. Edit my review. Priest, you are Satan. Joan gives wide-eyed expression. If you are not Satan, what is the square root of 7? Joan cries. Now imagine that for 2 hours. That's the Passion of Joan of Arc. I I like the performance here, but oh my god, it is so repetitive.
All right. I have a
Yeah.
bit of actually a widely different take.
Okay.
I thought the actress did an amazing job, extremely amazing, in fact. Um,
Mhm,
their accounts on actual Joan of Arc it's very iffy, and the few things we
mhm,
do know around the time is questionable at best. I think the actress did the best job she could, which
mhm.
I really love the emotion she put into it. Very
Oh, of course. I
important.
think she did a wonderful job. I just think it was the performance itself was repetitive. That was my point. I think it's good.
Yeah. It's actually one of the rare times we'll see an actress come and go, like full on. She will not remain too long after this film, which is weird. They would she got money for this, like a good chunk of fucking cheddar. Um, it's kind of weird is that this is a
Mm.
person that is also extremely kind of unknown. Is we would know a lot about all these other actors, even the extras. We know a lot about to a degree, but this chick, there's nothing really like an older at all.
I'm looking at her letterbox page and it seems she only has like 2 films she was actually in?
Yes. So according to Wikipedia, this is right from them. There is little recorded information about her life and career on the internet, and much of of the existing information is contradictory. Whatever. Um, yeah, there's just not much known about her. We do know that she died in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Hmm.
Yeah, but her resting place would be in Paris because she was French. Um,
Oh,
yeah, it's just this is one of those rare times we have an actor who we just don't know much about, and that's okay. That's okay.
it is weird that this is basically her only movie.
Pretty much. And
That is very wild.
if I remember correctly, this is a movie that was considered kind of big for its time, was it not?
Yeah, it's a really big film in French history because it is one of the kind of cornerstone French films. It was obviously nowadays is widely accepted as
Yeah.
an amazing, well done film. And I agree with that as much as my review was snarky. I do like this film.
Interestingly,
I just don't think it's a 10.
interestingly, this is a film like see, an actress. I keep back to her. She's the eye candy here. Um, despite the fact,
She's the main thing in this movie.
yeah, despite the fact we don't know much about her at all, and it's not listed at all that she has kids. It's credited that she has a grandchild. That implies she had a child or at least adopted somebody. He was also an actor who we will see eventually around the let me see here real fast around the 70s and 80s,
Mm,
which is intriguing. I wonder if he can compare to his grandmama. We will see.
that would be very difficult.
And he actually oh oh God, what the fuck, man?
Oh,
He killed himself.
oh no.
Oh no. As
Oh.
always, gotta plug it out there. Um, if you guys are feeling, that you need some help and you need to talk to somebody about those thoughts, please dial 988 and it's a suicide hotline number and I'll put it here in chat there. Anyway, let's
Oh, I feel like this is gonna come up more times than we're comfortable with.
see. Yeah.
Uh,
There's gonna be a lot of dead actors, and especially if we take a gander into pornography, there's a lot of suicides. It's like one of the number one killers for those actors and actresses.
ugh, that is rough. Um, Either way, uh, yeah, I thought it was good. I gave it an 8. I thought it was really good. What did you think of The Passion of Joan of Arc?
Hmm, a 9.
Fair. What would you say was keeps it from being a 10?
Because for me, a 10 to me is, I mean, you already said it's pretty repetitive.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes that's just Joan acting very dramatic, and she does a very good job at it. But there's only so many times you can do that before the charm starts to wear away a little bit.
I mean, if you think about it on her situation, shit, I'll be a bit dramatic too. What the fuck can be burnt into the fucking steak?
Fair, fair. Um, we won't spend a lot of time on this next one because it's a lost film, so neither of us could watch it. The Patriot, the last silent film to ever be nominated for Best Picture, other than the artist, but that doesn't count. Uh, and it is also one of the last great silent films, from the sounds of it. That's kind of all we know. It's about another Russian oligarch that's patriotic to his country and is getting overthrown by the Soviets. So it's kind of the opposite of October, 10 Days That Shook the World.
Ah, I'm hopeful that in some random fucking Paris fucking theater, this thing is still just like hiding about.
I would love to find this film. I would find it. I'm not going to find it personally. That's obvious. But I'd love to have this film be found because it is a big part of film history. It's a Best Picture nominee.
Fortunately,
Uh,
well, despite the
mm,
fact that the film is lost, probably for good, probably, um, we do know that there is a remake in France, actually, funnily enough, in 1938 with the same exact title.
Interesting.
It's
I
their
also
take.
know that the trailer has been found and preserved,
Yup.
so we can get just a little taste of the Patriot. Unfortunately, just the taste. Uh, I suppose we should move on because we can't rate it, obviously.
Yeah.
Next up is The Racket.
Ooh boy.
This is a proto gangster film and is primarily centered around, as you would imagine, a racket. I is this the anti cop gangster film? I
Yes.
believe so.
Actually, this is a tiny little detour. I think we should eventually make a segment where we talk about every single film that has been lost. Which you would think of all the films out now, shit still wouldn't be lost. No, there are actually still films being lost even today. It's usually indie films, mind you, but
Hey, that's still something really important, and it is sad to know that, especially in the age of the internet, a lot of this. I'm sure this show one day will be lost and will be unavailable.
yes. Actually, that goes into what I was about to mention. I was going to mention earlier, but I'm like, where do I segue this in? I plan to upload every single VOD you all have seen here, outside of the YouTube, onto the Wayback Machine. It will be there eventually.
Hell yeah.
I thought that would be a backup place. I mean, of course, one day that might go away too, considering how much of a law is trying to cut into them.
Ooh, yeah. But we can always hope.
Yep. Next up is
Mhm.
the Racket, as you were talking about, I believe.
Yes. This is one of those proto gangster films, and there are a lot of proto gangster films. This one, uh, I think I left a review of this that went something along the lines of the Racket would build a foundation for future gangster films or future great gangster films. The Racket is not one of them.
Understandable. I think,
I thought it was okay.
yeah, that's understandable. I also believe it was just okay. Um, Overall, I love gangster films. Okay,
Same.
but it has the same issue, the same exact issue that spy movies have. They will almost
There's not a
always,
lot you can do with it.
yeah, they will almost always compile the same trope. But unlike, the delicious spy movies, they don't really have a restriction that you can't have a female lead. You know, they do that all the time actually, and they can be sometimes even bigger than the male lead ones, which is all fine and
Mhm.
dandy. But usually it's still male. That's okay. I don't really mind. I prefer a male to be the lead anyway.
I guess for a gangster film, yeah, it's a little more historical, but I yeah, The Racket is kind of this is a silent film, right?
I believe it is. Yes.
Yes. Okay. It's been a while since I've seen this one, and it was kind of forgettable, which is yeah. Uh, that being said, I wish I could love this film. I really do, but it just wasn't there for me. It's a 6. It's very forgettable.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a step below. Give it a 5. Before we go on to the next one, this film was thought to be lost forever until after Howard Hughes' death. His film collection was looked into, and the film was restored along with a bunch of others that he had.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
I dig that. That's really cool.
The Wind is next.
The Wind. I didn't watch this one, so you're gonna have to take the lead on this.
All right, let me grab my notes for The Wind. Oh, lordy, lordy. Okay, so the reason why I looked at The Wind is because, well, one, the female lead was Lillian Gish, by the way.
Hell yeah, Lillian Gish.
So she automatically gets me looking at her. I'm like, oh shit, oh yeah, because she's a previous person who's been on the Goon, not a Goon there, but on the show here. I have to give her Goon reading. She's a 10.
And also, we could say that because she appeared in her first night film when she was like 19, so she was fine. Just thought we should clarify that because a lot of actors start out very young. We will not be rating Shirley Temple.
We're not doing that.
Nor did we have any plans to. God, anyways.
uh,
Um, but yeah, Lillian Gish. This is another. Is this a Griffith film?
let me take a gander here. No, this is by Victor. I cannot pronounce names that are in Norwegian, I believe.
Ah, fair enough.
No, it's Swedish.
Tell me about the wind. Not
So
about the physical property, about the
the
movie.
uh the film is about a frail young woman who we remember here. She lives in the east, but she moves west, and that causes
Okay.
tension in her family, and she is slowly driven mad.
This sounds very melodramatic.
Um, how do I say this? It felt tense. It actually did feel tense, and it felt kind of like very awkward and weird between the actors and the actresses. Um,
Oh,
Interestingly enough, Lillian Gish herself would say that the film was her most uncomfortable experience in all her films.
oh,
During filming, high temperatures made life miserable for both the cast and crew. The intense heat caused the film stock to warp and it had to be packed in ice to remain intact. Lillian Gish herself would claim that she touched an outside door handle and was so severely burned that some of her palm flesh was scalded off.
oh God.
Yes. The wind that was in the film was actually caused by a propeller of 8 aircraft engines stationed on location in the Mojave Desert.
Oh, this is something in the Mojave.
Yes.
No wonder.
This is a film that I felt like it was more of a detriment to the actual people doing it than anything else. It was actually also a film that received 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, so there's that too.
Okay.
It wasn't a horrible
Well,
film. I felt like it was really psychological here, and well, they achieved different goal. That was what they're going for.
do you think it was entertaining, or do you think it just mostly existed as like you know, a film to make you uncomfortable?
It was entertaining to some degree, and I gave it a 6. That's I don't really talk about this film too much because it made me also uncomfortable. Like, god damn this shit. Like, I'm like, it's clear that these people don't want to do this. Like, at certain points, I'm like, wow. Like, what the actor might comment on the screen, like, please end my suffering.
So, like what was so uncomfortable? Like, were they doing things that were uncomfortable? Was the plot just kind of uncomfortable?
The plot itself is uncomfortable because again, it dives into the tension, tension, within the family and slowly being driven mad, which is important. It's a quote unquote psychological drama, which is that's the whole point there. But at the same time, you can tell the conditions on the set actually slipped in a bit into the actual movie itself, which of course, in modern day you don't really see that. Something like fucking bloopers, but for
Or The
actual,
Shining?
yeah. But in a movie like this from way back then, before the hardcore editing we have
Mhm.
now, you'll see shit slip in, and it's clear that they are all uncomfortable.
That sounds a little miserable. Yeah,
Yeah. Don't worry, it's saved by Lillian Gish, who gets a solid goon reading of 10.
fair. Uh, that sounds good. I think that's the last film for 1928. What did you think of this very strange year for film?
It was kind of mid. I mean, Spies was good because it set a whole genre up basically. Um,
That's fair.
the Gooners here are pleased. This is a very solid year for gooning though.
Yeah, it was kind of an alright year. I think a lot of we can agree that most of the sound films were garbage, just because it was the early sound era, and obviously it wasn't going to be great.
Yeah. If I had to call this is a very much a inter intermediary area where it's like it's a transitional point, which is
Yeah, it was a
fine.
transitional year.
I wouldn't fault the year so much because it's it's a bad year right after a golden year of like 1927, which
Yeah.
you can't really fault 1928 for that. You can't really, especially considering transition, and that's just how it is sometimes.
We're gonna see some proper garbage next year. Don't worry. Um, yeah, I agree with that. That is really concise. I really like that. This was a decent year. It wasn't great. It's definitely not going to be the dumpster fire that 1929 is going to be. It was nice. Um, there was some trash. There were some treasures. A lot of in between.
Yeah, and that
That's
is
that.
fucking fine.
Yeah. Not too long because this Oscars was kind of garbage, and also we have a lot of stuff from 1929. But I thought we should just at least touch on the second Academy Awards.
All right, let's hit us here.
All right, so our we kind of already touched on this. The actors, the best actor category we have for the males. Warner Baxter in Old Arizona, George Bancroft in Thunderbolt, that's next year. Chester Morris in Alibi, again next year. Paul Muni in The Valiant, again next year, and Lewis Stone in The Patriot. I'd like to make one comment.
Mm-hmm.
Why not Emil Yannings?
I have
Wasn't he
no
the
clue.
star of the film?
He is.
The winner was Warner Baxter. If I had to pick from the people listed, I would have picked Paul Muni. We'll see that next year. Though, if I had to pick Best Actor, obviously it's going to go to Vedant, right? It's going to go to The Man Who Laughs.
Yeah,
It's going to go to Conrad. Duh. Like, how did this film not get a nomination for Best Actor?
it's just sad to me for real.
That is terrible. Best Actress, Mary Pickford for Coquette. We're going to talk about that a lot next year. Ruth Chatterton for Madame X. I think that's also next year. Betty Compson for The Barker. Jen Eagles for The Letter. Corin Griffith for The Divine Lady. And Bessie Love for the Broadway Melody. What the fuck is wrong with you, Academy? All of these choices are bad. All of these choices are terrible. If I were to give any woman Best Actress, ooh, obviously we got to give it to the lady who played Joan of Arc.
Yes, she deserves it. Maria Falcone or Falconetti.
Yeah. Oh, this one's gonna be interesting. Art direction. The Bridge of San Luis Rey. I have I have never heard of this film. The Patriot. That's frustrating. Dynamite, a film I have seen and barely remember. Alibi, The Awakening, and Street Angel. I
Mm.
have seen fully two of these films, which is not a great sign. What would you give best art direction to?
Mm.
I
That.
already have my pick.
That. Mm. I'm actually having a hard time deciding. There's two films in particular where I fucking felt the art direction was really solid.
Oh,
Of course, the Passion of Joan of Arc, by the way. Of course, obviously.
yeah.
And the other choice, now it's gonna surprise you ever so slightly, but this is an odd choice. I thought the other one would be the Command. It's gonna be the Last Command.
That's fair. There's that really big train setup, which
Yeah.
that makes sense.
If you're curious as to why
Uh,
I didn't mention the name Train there, it's because it would be the same train as I mentioned all over again.
that's fair. I think best art personally, I'd give it to Spies.
So that's why it's a good choice.
Cinematography. White Shadows in the South Seas, which is a white guilt movie. Our Dancing Daughters, which I think is Lost. In Old Arizona, okay, that's a choice. Four Devils, which is Lost, I know that. Street Angel and The Divine Lady. Street Angel sucks. It also shouldn't even be here because it was in the last year's Oscars.
mm.
Let me check. Cinematography. Huh. Ooh, that's hard. You know what? I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. Speedy.
Ooh, that's a choice, and I agree with that choice.
Yeah, it had some really good cinematography. Directing. Divine Lady, Madame X, Broadway Melody, go fuck yourself. In Old Arizona, go fuck yourself. Drag, Weary River, and the Patriot got a lot of nominations tonight. Directing, it's hard to measure directing, you know.
I'm gonna throw a whole curveball in here. Storm over Asia.
I haven't seen it, so I can't say for sure. Personally, for directing, the cameraman, I guess
Mm, yeah,
it's
I see it.
Keaton. Yeah, it's not. I'm not really super confident in that. Um, the last award before we get to Best Picture, writing. Uh,
Ooh.
that's hard. I
Mm.
think for writing, as much as I didn't love the film, I think the crowd deserves at least something.
You know, I was thinking of the crowd myself. I was thinking between either a crowd or the docks of New York.
Okay, I don't think that's a bad opinion. I think definitely the crowd should definitely have gotten a nod for it. Though obviously it was in the last Oscars because the Oscars is dumb. Uh, let's talk about Best Picture, which was called Outstanding Picture because the Oscars are weird. The winner was The Broadway Melody, which is next year and is considered one of the worst Best Picture films ever. Alibi, In
Mm-hmm.
Old Arizona, The Hollywood Review, and The Patriot. What do you think was the best film of 1928?
Clearly, the crowd.
Really?
Yeah, I'm joking. I think
I,
Spies was the best.
oh, okay. I thought, well, I know you liked it more than I did.
I think Spies was a clear favorite here. Although, of course, honestly, I think the crowd was pretty good too. Now I'm like really clicking on it.
It's just a split second decision. I do think it's funny we gave nothing to Lonesome.
Lonesome gets nothing. Stay alone.
Lonesome was terrible. Uh, Best Picture. Fuck. I'm torn between The Man Who Laughs and Spies, personally. In
Mm,
Old Arizona deserves nothing. It was terrible. I think I'm gonna agree with you. I think I'm gonna go with Spies.
yeah.
And that was the Oscars. Now that I've read the list, we'll talk more about Coquette next episode when we talk about the film. What did you think of the films that the Oscars actually picked? Since I think you've actually seen some of the films of 1929 already.
Honestly, the choices from 1929 were interesting picks. I mean, they were still the best, like some of the best out of the whole bunch. So I'm not complaining too much. I just feel like there are
Mhm.
other choices.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, yeah, that's film, and I think we should move on to the shorter segments, which are rapidly becoming longer and longer.
Yep.
But they'll split when they split. Uh, you know what was something interesting about 1928 in music? We got some more country on the playlist.
Mm,
So we listened to T for Texas, I Want to Be Loved by You, Black and Tan Fantasy, which I think might be an anti fascist song, Old Man River, Sunny Boy, West End Blues, Wildflower, Pine Top Boogie Woogie, and Mac the Knife by Bertolt Brecht, not the other version by Bobby Darin. Music is we're getting like 20s, like late 20s jazz and like country is jamming. It's again, there's not a ton to say because it is just like this is good. They're not super distinct. We are seeing a lot more genres. What did you think of the music of
Well,
1928?
it was all pretty good. My favorite song from this year would be this is a one that is a kind of like because it makes me think about even hillbillies to a degree. Is Big Rock Candy Mountain.
Big Rock Candy Mountain. I remember. I only know of that song because a Fallout mod I use for New Vegas had that song, and it is the silliest song.
This is a weird detour, and I just really have to mention it because you mentioned New Vegas, and we won't talk about current events too much like that unless it comes to media. But there was a shooter involving a healthcare guy. It's sad.
Yeah,
Um, the person who did the shooting, he played New Vegas for a minute. He said it was bad.
this man has poor taste.
He has 300 hours in Fallout 4, by the way.
You know, that's another point against this guy. Likes Fallout 4, hates New Vegas. If you like Fallout 4, that's valid. If you don't like New Vegas, that's valid. But if you have both of those opinions, I'm gonna give you the side eye.
The irony here is that he was rich, and he also came from a family that also owned a string of nursing homes that mistreated all of their people heavily. I'm like, wow, it's crazy how you killed some dude from healthcare for being bad, but your family, in fact, also does really bad shit. That's crazy.
Fix your own stuff, but yeah.
Kill your grandparents.
No!
His grandparents are the ones who were running the shit.
That's I don't think Twitch will get mad at us if we have the opinion if your grandparents are terrible dictators, then actually don't commit violence. I'm about
Violence is
non-violence,
wrong.
guys.
Just be passive aggressive. Like a catty
You know
white
what? That
lady.
well, can we put that on a T-shirt?
Yeah.
Violence is wrong. Be passive aggressive.
Ain't
Uh,
no party like a Diddy party.
we're gonna move on. Uh, I don't think there was a lot happening in the world of primitive gaming.
You know, well, let's see here. The games of 1928. I'm sure there's a banger popping out. There has to be a.
I'm sure it's just all gonna be racism again.
Hey, hey, it's how it is sometimes. Let's see here. We have one game. I'll
What
scroll
is
to
it? Is it racist?
No, well, it involves racism, but or rather racing. It's a horse racing
Uh,
game. It was a game.
how do you
Oh,
feel about horse races?
well, it's a common sport in my state, so they're cool. Originally, the pieces that were for it were made of lead.
That might be a problem.
Yes, yes, it was.
Oh, that poor Timmy. Poor Timmy's got lead poisoning.
Yeah. Um. I understand the game is not relevant at all today, although interestingly, re-releases of it are still being made today. The most recent was in 2019.
Huh.
Yeah, so I guess it was popular enough.
Enough.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Um. Yeah, there's not much to talk about games because games have not evolved yet. At all.
It'd be like that. Uh, I think with that, we've covered pretty much everything. We've even talked about the stuff that we want to do in the future. So look forward to that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to doing magazines because I love magazines, and right when we blitz right through all that, it'll be a very fun time. Especially because we're going to be talking about a very inappropriate topic for Twitch. It would be very careful what we talk about involving pornography. Um,
I might keep my distance on that.
we have to be
Who knows?
very careful.
If we get a Patreon one day, we might talk about it on there because I don't think Patreon gives a fuck.
They do not, as long as you're not talking about incest, they don't really care, or dog fucking, or anything involving bestiality and necrophilia. It's a very, very sensitive
You
areas.
know, things that we wouldn't be talking about anyways, so we're in the clear.
Yeah. it's one of those areas where we need to be also very respectful because while many people look down upon that pathway, it is a area where a lot of innovation has happened, especially for
Yeah.
women. Women do have that advantage, guys. I'm sorry, it's not sexist. It's fucking a cold, hard biological truth that women just look fucking good. You don't like that? Tough. Don't be a damn human then.
Well, you say that as if I could just switch at any moment.
Oh,
Like,
you can.
ah, fuck, I guess I gotta be a turnip now.
Hey, people these days are thinking they're putting in helicopters. So why can't you just choose to be a different
Are
animal then?
you? Did you just pull up the attack helicopter line?
Yes, people are choosing to be different genders. Why can't I be fucking a tech helicopter? Why can't I be a damn turtle? God damn
Really getting Ben Shapiro out here.
it! I'm spitting bars. Twitch don't come for me, man. I'm spitting those hot beats.
just you're just speaking lightly conservative rhetoric.
Yeah, damn right I am. Because it's the fucking truth. If people are being dumb, mental illness is a thing, and people should get help. Stop letting it fester, America. Come on, man. It's not cool. This is like the old days where you just pretend the mental illness ain't nothing. God damn it. There's always a rant somewhere.
So we'll see if this one survives. But
I
if
end the VOD this time. This is the staying. You
uh,
get to know my cold truths.
uh, if you made it to the end of this, thank you. Please don't leave angry comments. We are not actually that politically active. We don't care.
Don't ask what I was doing in 2014. My syndicalism.
Listen, we all went through that phase when we were 14 where we picked a random extreme ideology. Mine was anarcho-capitalism because I was dumb. Uh,
you
uh,
you will
go ahead.
see me bounce through ideology. Oh wait, he was a radical syndicalist, and then he became a wait. Hold on now, I can't say that on Twitch. But
You pick an ideology. Scyther's probably been there at some point.
I was also promoting monarchy at one point. It is also, by the way, the best form of government. I don't care what anybody that. It's a Democrats or democracy is the best choice. No, it's not. Because democracy is also voting from fascist tyrants.
So
It's working, just not the way they really wanted in the end.
go taking that hard line, monarchism. Yeah, that's a hill you're gonna die
To be
on.
exact, constitutional monarchism. Constitutional is the best form for it. Just don't be Britain and utterly collapse your own country because you have been competent fucking politicians. By the way, this is a very important. If this whole thing fails with this whole show podcast whatever, we do have plans for a very not memey political podcast called
We're
Echo
just,
Chamber.
we're just we're just gonna say the most ridiculous things until someone looks at us and gives us money.
I think
Um,
Taylor Swift is a slut, but a beautiful slut.
yeah, this is getting cut out of the pod. If you've gotten to the end of this,
The
we
Swifties
really do
attack.
appreciate we really do appreciate you watching through all of this. If you want to do all the social media stuff, that's just a bonus. Do you have anything to say before we lead out, Scyther?
Yeah, Swifties please don't attack. I appreciate you all watching, as he said. Um, Look forward to that video where I will, of course, with Oz, be talking about magazines. It will not be streamed because there's too much to really go over, and I don't want to stream. It's all about magazines.
That's fair. We'll chop it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see you all next time.
Yep. See you.